Here's something that will make your blood boil. You've been with your energy supplier for 15 years. Never missed a payment, never caused any trouble. Your neighbor moves in next door and signs up with the exact same company. Same house size, same usage patterns, but they are paying £300 less per year than you are. It's called the loyalty penalty. And the reason it is still completely legal, that is the uncomfortable bit most people do not talk about. The whole system runs on something called acquisition pricing. Energy companies offer new customers these incredibly attractive rates to get them through the door. You have seen the adverts. Switch to us and save £400 a year. Sounds brilliant. But that amazing rate is temporary. Usually 12 months, sometimes 18 months if you are lucky. After that, you automatically roll onto a standard variable tariff, and that is where they get you. Here is what the numbers actually look like. According to Ofgem data from 2018, customers on standard variable tariffs were paying on average £1,137 per year for dual fuel. The cheapest fixed deals on the market were around £900. That is £237 just for staying put. The Citizens Advice Bureau found that loyal customers were collectively overpaying by £4.1 billion across different markets. Energy alone accounted for roughly £1.4 billion in overpayments in a single year. So why don't people just switch? That's what I thought when I first looked into this. Turns out energy companies have spent years studying exactly what makes people stay, and they've gotten very good at it. First, there's inertia. Switching sounds like a faff. You imagine mountains of paperwork, phone calls, potential problems with your supply. The reality is much simpler. Most switches happen within 3 weeks, and your new supplier handles almost everything. But that perception remains. Then there's deliberate confusion. Have you ever actually tried to compare energy tariffs? Fixed rates, variable rates, capped rates. Some charge a standing charge, some don't. Some offer cheaper rates at certain times of day. The complexity isn't an accident. The harder it is to compare, the less likely you are to bother. Here's the important bit. This is a feature, not a bug. Researchers have a term for what happens next: status quo bias. We humans have a strong tendency to stick with what we know, even when changing would benefit us. We overestimate the risks of switching, and we underestimate the costs of staying put. Energy companies build their entire pricing model around this. AG plays a role too. Ofgem found that customers over 65 were significantly more likely to be on expensive standard variable tariffs. Partly that is digital literacy, because many of the best deals are online only. But it's also trust. Older customers often have relationships with their supplier going back decades. They remember when energy companies were regional monopolies, and some of that loyalty persists even though the market has completely changed. Let me show you how this actually played out. In 2017, British Gas had about 5.5 million customers on standard variable tariffs, paying around £1,120 a year. At the exact same time, they were advertising fixed tariffs to new customers for around £950. Same company, same energy. £170 difference based purely on whether you were new or loyal. When challenged, suppliers would say that standard variable tariffs offer flexibility. You can leave any time without exit fees, which is technically true, but it is a bit like saying you are free to leave the casino whenever you want. The government noticed this pattern becoming politically toxic. In 2018, Theresa May's government announced an energy price cap, specifically to protect customers on standard variable tariffs. The cap was set at £1,136 per year for typical dual fuel usage. Did this solve the loyalty penalty? Not exactly. It created a ceiling for the worst tariffs, which helped, but it also had unintended consequences. Some energy companies responded by reducing the number of competitive deals they offered. Why give big discounts to new customers when you cannot charge loyal customers as much to subsidize it? The price cap gets adjusted twice a year based on wholesale costs. And as you are probably painfully aware, those wholesale costs have gone absolutely mental. The cap hit £1,277 in October 2021, then £1,971 in April 2022, then an eye-watering £3,549 in October 2022 before the government stepped in. During the energy crisis, the loyalty penalty actually diminished temporarily. But not for good reasons. The cheap deals disappeared entirely. When companies were going bust left and right, there was not much room for special offers. Everyone got hammered equally. But here's what hasn't changed. The fundamental business model still relies on customer inertia. Let me explain how these companies actually think about you. They divide customers into rough categories. There are the switchers, people who shop around every year, price sensitive and basically unprofitable. Then there are the sleepers, customers who switched once to get a good deal but never bothered again. They are on standard variable rates now and quite profitable. Finally, there are the never switched, often older customers who have been with the same supplier for years, sometimes decades. These are the most profitable customers of all. Industry insiders have a phrase for this: harvesting customers. You acquire them with a loss-leading deal, then harvest them for profit once they roll onto standard rates. It is not illegal, but it is definitely cynical. Here is one thing you can do right now, even if you do nothing else. Call your current supplier and ask them to put you on their cheapest tariff. Do not ask if they have better deals. Tell them to move you to the cheapest tariff they offer. According to Citizens Advice, about 60% of people who simply asked got a better deal. The Competition and Markets Authority investigated this across multiple sectors in 2018. They found the loyalty penalty was not just in energy, it affected home insurance, broadband, mobiles, mortgages, and cash savings accounts. Loyal customers were overpaying by about £4 billion collectively. Their report made for depressing reading. Companies were deliberately designing pricing structures to exploit inertia. Auto-renewal clauses would kick customers onto much more expensive rates. Confusing pricing made comparison difficult. Special deals were only available to new customers or advertised in particular places. The Financial Conduct Authority eventually banned price walking in home and motor insurance in 2022. Price walking is the practice of gradually increasing premiums year on year for customers who renew, while offering cheaper deals to new customers. Energy companies cannot do exactly the same thing because Ofgem regulates them differently. But the loyalty penalty still appears in other forms. So what else can you actually do? The most effective strategy is boringly simple. Switch regularly. Set a calendar reminder for 11 months after you sign up for any deal. When that reminder goes off, spend 20 minutes on a comparison site. If you can save £100 or more, switch. Use the proper comparison sites, ones accredited by Ofgem. That includes Compare the Market, Money Supermarket, USwitch, and Confused.com. These sites make their money through commission from suppliers, so the service is free to you. Just make sure you are comparing like for like, same payment method, same usage estimates. Do not be afraid of smaller suppliers, but do check their customer service ratings. Some of the cheapest deals come from companies you have never heard of. Many of them are perfectly fine, but some have appalling customer service. A few pounds saved is not worth 6 months of trying to get someone on the phone when something goes wrong. For those who really can't be bothered with any of this, there are switching services that will do it automatically. Auto-switching, for example, monitors your account and switches you to a better deal when one becomes available. They take a cut of the savings, but if the alternative is doing nothing, it is better than nothing. The other thing worth knowing is if you are struggling to pay your energy bills, suppliers have hardship funds and payment plans available. You have to actually contact them and ask because they are required by Ofgem to offer support. Do not just let bills pile up unpaid. Looking forward, there is talk of further regulatory changes. Ofgem has consulted on banning different prices for new customers versus existing customers entirely. That would end the loyalty penalty in its current form, but it might also mean fewer competitive deals overall. Some consumer groups argue for automatic switching systems, where customers are moved to the best available tariff unless they actively opt out. That would help the least engaged customers most, but it also raises questions about market competition and consumer choice. The fundamental problem is that energy is something most people do not want to think about. You want your lights to work and your heating to come on. You do not want to spend your Sunday afternoon comparing standing charges and unit rates. Energy companies know this, and they have built their entire business model around it. The loyalty penalty exists because it is profitable. It will keep existing until either regulation kills it entirely or customers change their behavior in large numbers. You cannot fix the system by yourself, but you can avoid being the one subsidizing everyone else's cheap deals. Here is my question. When did you last switch energy supplier? Or are you one of the long-term loyalists, getting quietly harvested? Let me know in the comments. If you have been with the same supplier for years and this stuff affects you, this channel is for you. Hit subscribe. I have more videos coming on how UK utilities actually operate behind the scenes.